Right.
Looks like Henry. Yeah.
Sorry, absolute disaster to start, but we're all good now. Great, so everyone can hear, everyone can see. Just thumbs up if you are all in Miro. Everyone is within Miro.
Yep. Yes.
One if you don't have your video on. Excellent. Nice turn up as well. Awesome. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to introduce you to something. Right, Nick, I don't know what you're doing. I can see you moving the board there.
That literally just moved. I don't know why I did.
Great. So what we're going to do today is, first thing I'm going to do is start off by screen sharing, just so everyone can see what we're up to. Excellent. Okay. So what we're going to do today is introduce you to something called the Lightning Decision Jam. This is part of this sort of field of design sprints, design thinking that's been emerging over the last few years. We're going to go into that tomorrow with Rob Hamlin, who is a specialist sort of design sprint facilitator, you know, does workshops with sort of 20,000 a week for this kind of thing. What we're doing, so he's going to give you sort of better background on it, more detail on the benefits, like how to use this, different scenarios. So I'd recommend coming to that. If you see value in this today, come to that Q&A tomorrow. It's going to be quite a relaxed one because we're quite good friends. Yeah, come with any questions. You know, if you have, for example, an idea about how you might want to use this, then Rob is the guy to talk to. He's a real pro at workshop facilitation. So today what we're going to do specifically, though, is look at a Lightning Decision Jam. So this is a 60-minute workshop where we align stakeholders around a specific challenge and move all the way through to a prioritized solution within the 60 minutes. If everyone can see my screen, I'm going to just go through a very quick presentation of how we're going to structure the hour or the 50 minutes we have. And yeah, then we're going to jump straight into it. Great. So a couple of principles before we start the workshop, start this Lightning Decision Jam. First is a principle called together alone. So we're taking that old model of brainstorming where we're all sort of chatting around and you know, working on a whiteboard, and it feels really fun and exciting, but ultimately not much generally comes out of it. Instead, what we're doing here is following a principle called together alone. So the exercises will be working in silence and will be timed during those exercises. And we then silently vote on solutions as well. So we're taking, you know, the what's the word, unobjective element out of these kinds of sessions where it's maybe your boss pushing a certain idea or maybe the, you know, loudest person in the room. So in silence so that we come to really good, deep, well thought through solutions. Second principle is focusing on the tangible over discussion. So what that means is when we do the exercises, we're not going to be discussing things. It's almost in silence throughout. The reason why is that we're not going to get the perfect solution or define the perfect challenge, but we want to go in the right direction, and then we refine things after the workshop. As soon as we get bogged down in discussion, then we're not going to get the value out of the workshop. Third principle, getting started is better than being right. So it's similar to the above. We're not going to find the perfect answer. You know, when we come to the solution, we're not going to map out every single detail of this, but we're moving in the right direction. We can work out the details after. So as long as we're aligning ourselves around what the problem is and broadly what the solution is, everything else can be worked out afterwards. Final point, don't await creativity. What do we mean? When it comes to writing out lots of ideas for problems and solutions, feel free to just get down as many ideas as possible. Sometimes the best ideas will come from something that sounds stupid or sounds a bit out there. You know, that's sometimes where innovation truly comes from, right? Really, really great ideas. So just on the process, well, ultimately what we're doing is moving from defining a problem to a prioritized solution. So we're going to be doing broadly two exercises. The first is defining the problem, right? So writing out as many problems as we can, redefining a couple of those that we think are worth solving, and then voting on those solutions those problems, so we can find, like, amongst these 20 ideas, what do we think is the biggest thing that we should solve during the workshop. Then what we do in the second half of the workshop, we move on to solutions. So we're going to brainstorm as many solutions as possible for that most voted problem. We will then put that on an effort impact scale to, a couple of those ideas on an effort impact scale to see, what's worth solving, what can be solved in practice. And then finally, we're going to define some specific next steps. Do this all within 1 hour, probably a little bit less today because we're dealing with a sort of more simple issue. So as I said, we go from problem, where we're writing out some ideas on post-it notes. We then add red dots to those to show ultimately which are the most voted. What do we think are the most important? We then take the most voted problem and work out solutions for that. So again, writing out solutions on post-it notes, voting on those solutions, and then moving forward with a couple of those, the solutions we believe will best solve the problem. Then what we do ultimately, and the way we use this, let's say in more of a business context, is that we take that solution idea and we start building it, measuring it, learning, and then iterating on that initial idea we started with. Any questions from anyone, but particularly the facilitators before we jump in? All good? Okay, awesome. Right, cool. Ready to rock and roll.
Sorry, I've actually got one. If I write the same thing as someone else, should I maybe take that out straight away, or? No,
completely fine. If it's exactly the same, you can just just delete it. But I will be gathering. So me as the facilitator, my role is, in this one, I'm going to contribute a little bit. I'll write some ideas, but mainly what I'm doing is sort of observing, moving cards, like putting similar ideas together, etc.
Sure.
So for you guys, it's literally as simple as writing in post-it notes and moving them and voting on them. Excellent. So if everyone just can now be within Miro. Excellent. Let's go to board 1. So see the black line, there will be a number on each of these. So we're on number 1, presenting our challenge. Cool, we're all there. And I can see you guys. Excellent, great. Cool, so what I thought would be the best use of our time today is, somewhat selfishly, looking at a challenge around sort of how might we make the product MBA an amazing experience. So specifically, rather than, let's say, what I want to do ultimately is show you, like, if we run a simple retrospective in this session, clearly you can see how that might be used within your teams, like running retrospectives, aligning with stakeholders, running strategy sessions if, for example, it's not clear what your product teams are meant to be solving, and maybe your boss, like CEO, CTO, etc., is not clear as well on that. So we're going to stick with something relatively simple to start, which is this topic of ultimately improving the product MBA experience. Great. So final thing before we jump in. For everyone that is participating, can you see you have a name on your post-it note? We're going to do a really quick tutorial. What I'd like you to do, watch what I'm about to do. I want you to select your card, double click to edit, and then you can overwrite the text there. Once that's done, we're going to just drag across to the board on the right. So Raf, you need to edit, Daniele, edit the text before. So you're selecting the card, double click to edit the text.
I had it a minute ago, it's not coming up now. Let me go back, I'm going to just refresh my page. 1 minute.
Okay, Richard, we got Nick's. Awesome, there might be a little bit of a lag. That's it, Raf. So if you double click on the text itself, you'll be able to edit the text. Excellent, awesome.
May I just once ask where the challenge comes from? Make the ProdMBA an amazing experience, because it's focused on the existing participants and not on getting new ones, for example.
Yeah, sure. It's a good idea. I wanted to keep it quite simple today, but that could be a good idea. Yeah, let's leave it just on the. I think I wanted to do sort of more of a retrospective, but that is a good idea actually, as a challenge. And again, I think one thing, I'm using a sort of safe use case for us today so that we can sort of see how this works. I think it's slightly simpler. Excellent. Okay, so everyone has got a hang of this. So what I want you guys to now do is go over to board number 2, sorry, section number 2, prioritize the problem. So what we're going to do for a first exercise is we are going to spend 4 minutes writing things that we feel are, if we go down to, sorry, the boat at the bottom of this row, so under number 4, we're going to be writing ideas for things that we think are pushing us forward. So things that the Product MBA is doing very well, for example. So we're going to write out, before, I'll give you a timer before we start, we're going to write out as many things as that we think are pushing this forward, like doing well for the program. What we'll then do afterwards, I'll set another timer and we're going to do 4 minutes on ideas that we think are holding the program back. So things that we think we could improve ultimately. So let me get up. Sorry, I have my timer prepared on my other laptop. We'll do this here now. So what I want you guys to do is see under number 3, you all have a board with your names on, right? Those are your post-it cards to be using for this exercise. So what we're going to be doing, you can watch my screen if you're unsure, is we're going to write an idea. So we double click, add the text. And when the timer is done, so say we have, maybe 6 ideas, we're going to zoom out, select these, and then just move them down above the waterline here. If you get stuck, don't worry, I'm going to be watching, so I will be moving your cards for you if you'd like. Okay, everyone clear on that? For all of you guys observing, what I'll be doing is, as the guys are moving their cards down, I'm going to start grouping those. As I group those, I'm going to put a number next to each concept. What we then have for you guys, this is a slight experiment, but it will keep you hopefully engaged with everything, is you have 1 dot each. So the guys participating, like Nick, Antonia, you have 3 dots to vote. Everyone else will just have 1 dot, and I'll simply add numbers to the ideas, and in the Zoom chat, just ask you guys to add the number where you want to place your vote. Everyone clear? Okay, great. So let's.
Oh, sorry, Henry. When you say ideas, so we've done our research, we've got our feedback from people. So is it kind of using that data to come up with ideas?
No, in this case, it's your own ideas.
Your own ideas.
So, for example, what do you think? Things that the Product MBA does well. For example.
What's well, basically, or what is going well, or are we also at this stage we're doing the other one?
So at this stage, what we're doing is, just things that we think are going well, things that are like giving wind. Afterwards, we'll move on to the things holding us back. Excellent. So I'm going to start a 4-minute timer. Ready? And we can get started with some ideas.
Is the timer running?
Yep.
Okay.
To note, for all the observers, you're able to browse through Miro with no problem, right? We can't see where you are. Yeah, excellent. Okay, I'm just going to check. Awesome. Okay, cool.
So just wanted to check, is it fine for me to start dragging down the items so that you can begin to?
Yeah, I'll do it for you actually. I'm sort of facilitate.
Oh, okay, yeah. I didn't realize you could.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you want to, completely fine as well. I'll be following up. Don't worry if you see cards disappear. It's not because I didn't like the idea. I'm just going to start moving some things. Oh, shit. Also, for people I'll just add commentary for people observing. See, also what I'm doing is sometimes separating, mixing them up a bit. So they're not all right next to each other, essentially. You'll see why a bit later. Antonio, I'm just moving a couple of your ideas. Just over a minute left. Also, just a facilitation note. If you see sort of, things are moving quite well, you can go over the time, you can go under as well. You can be a bit flexible with it. So it's good to have, set a timer, but just to keep things moving. But obviously, if it doesn't make sense, you can pause early. Okay, so if you could just drag your cards down and add your final idea. Sorry, add any final ideas you might have. Antonio, I'll take that squad concept card for you. So yeah, above the line, perfect, awesome. Cheers, Daniel. Just above the line would be great. Richard, I'll move these for you. What you can also do is, say people are already running low on cards, just add a few extra because we're going to reuse this board for the next exercise. Excellent. So if everyone's finished moving their cards, someone just drew a giant line.
Oh, it keeps creating shapes.
Just deselect and I'll delete it for you. There's a huge line somewhere. There we go. Okay. Cool.
I'm actually used to using this tool as well, so this is. I read something a minute ago. Yeah.
Extremely embarrassing for Nick.
Okay, excellent. Great, so what we're going to do with this one, treat it a little bit like a warm-up exercise, just getting some ideas down. So we're going to leave these, and what we can do in future is come back to these, like say, for example, if we were using this in a team context, or for example, Felix and I later can review these and sort of see what we're doing well, and maybe take action on some of those. But we're just going to leave those for now. So when Nick finishes drawing shapes, where is he?
If you could just drag that down for me, please.
Yeah, I see what you've drawn a link. Excellent. So what we're going to do is just leave those for now, and we're going to go straight into the next exercise. So I'm going to set another 4-minute timer. This time, what we're going to do is ideas that we think are pulling the ProdMBA back. So again, just in this context, be as critical as you want, be as honest as you want. I think the more honest the feedback, the more useful it is for us. Again, this is sort of a test workshop, but the feedback will be helpful. So 4-minute timer starting from now. Just for observers as well, I'm going to start already grouping these as I see them come up. Just so that we can move quite quickly towards a solution. Just guys participating, I'm going to be moving your, I'm not going to look at who's written anything. I'll just be moving them as I see them completed, okay? Also, for the observers, just start thinking about where you might want to place your vote. We'll be doing that in about 5 minutes. Antonio, I'm stealing your card. Nick, I'm just moving some of yours. Excellent, just 2 minutes left. Awesome, just final 1 or 2 ideas. I'm just going to move the okay, just final idea and just move it down to the bottom if you can. That'd be great. Excellent, where are we at? Great, Richard, I'm just going to move that idea for you. Okay, awesome. So let's wrap up with that exercise. So what we're going to do now, I think somebody's moved this board, is I'm going to set another 4-minute timer. Sorry, that board has moved. I'm going to set another 4-minute timer. And what I'd like you to do is place your votes on what you think the biggest priority challenge is to overcome. We're going to use the most voted challenge to work on sort of ideas for solutions after that. As you're doing it, I'll be doing this straight away, but as you're doing it, if you see 2 ideas that are the same, just put them right, like overlapping. So an example, if you're watching my screen, would be, say these are the same, we just overlap very slightly to show that they're linked together. Awesome, so I'm going to set 4-minute timer starting from now.
So ignore the part above the line too.
Yeah, sorry, ignore the part above the line.
And am I correct in thinking that we only have 3 dots to place?
Yeah, exactly. The dots are,
Yep.
if you go underneath number 4, you've got your name with 3 dots.
Sure, yeah.
Nice. And for you guys watching, I'm going to be placing. I have to drop that. No worries. I'm going to be placing a number next to these, and then I'm going to give you guys a chance to vote on them. That's crazy.
Are we already voting on these?
Yes, yes. So
Okay,
after
sorry.
reading them, maybe grouping them, feel free to vote. Press start. Okay, cool.
Oh,
No, all good, all good. Yeah, you put that with the content stuff. We've got a group over here of sort of like content quality, I suppose. Yeah, cool. Excellent. Okay, right. So for observers, I'm going to start adding numbers to these broad ideas. So what I'd like you to, if you haven't already, just make a decision on where you'd like to place your vote. And what I'm going to do is then through the Zoom chat, once you see the one you want to vote for numbered, through the Zoom chat, what I'll do is then move your vote for you.
We get to pick only one number. Yeah, yeah. We only have one number.
Awesome. So if you've got your votes, you've got another minute or so to place your votes. I'm going to vote as well. Very quickly, what do we got? Maybe great sizes and the web. Yes, I think so. Let's make these more adjustments. Right, so I'm going to take your votes now. Where are we? Let's take chat. Okay, excellent. Here we are. Okay, Yana, we've got number 3.
I'm a bit thick. Where's the chat?
There should be an icon on Zoom. Jason, number 5. Awesome.
If you use it on a mobile device, it might be the More button on the very top right corner.
No, I thought he meant. I thought there was a chat on Miro. That's where I was looking. No, Zoom chat on Google.
7, excellent. 8, completeness. And 11, Danielle. Okay, awesome. Any other votes from observers, participants? I'm seeing Lloyd, got number 7. Excellent. Cool. Any more votes? Mitch, okay, awesome. Okay, awesome. So what we're going to do now, Steve as well. Right, final chance for votes, Martin as well.
Can we vote for more than one group or only one?
No, so 3 votes can be placed anywhere. sorry, for you guys, you only get one vote. The people not fully participating.
Okay.
One for Neil. Aya as well. Yeah, sorry, I should have been clear on that. Martin, I think I've used your vote. Collis at number 5. Okay, cool. Okay, let's see what we've got. So we've got 2 groupings. I'm actually going to hold off the vote for deciding on this. Okay, excellent. So what we're going to do now is, you can see already, particularly when we do this at scale, so you do this with like 10 people and each person has 5 votes, we're going to see some really clear like heat maps around certain ideas. So here we have, number 1 has 6 votes, number 5 is on 5, and number 3 is on 5 votes, and I'm holding off a deciding vote on this as well. Number 2 is on 3. So let's look at these. So number 1, most voted problem, broadly around improvement, sort of like content, quality, etc. I'm not going to bring that one forward because it's clearly important, but I think the solutions will be like relatively obvious. So things like breaking up videos and stuff. So I want to leave that, but this is good for me to know. It's like next time we can come back and visit that. I know that's a problem to improve upon. Number 5, more group exercises and simulations like role play for JD. That sounds like a very good challenge to work on. Final one on sort of like persona is important. Will we come out with a good solution? I'm not sure. I think that's sort of testing, comes down to testing ultimately with the first cohort. So for today, I'm going to place my vote on here. So number 5, and then we're going to work on solutions for that. Does that make sense to everyone? This is actually really important. So if we're facilitating, at times we're going to see, I had this last week actually with a client project, you'll see sometimes that like the solution's quite obvious. So for example, with improving the content, so we don't need sort of like a big brainstorming with that. So what we do though is we have then this board as a reference. Like when we come back and look at things to improve upon, we have sort of documentation here. So for today though, I think a good one is going to be this, this challenge that we have over here at number 5. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this group, so take this specific challenge. I'm going to rephrase it. So how might we, into a more sort of like open question. Excellent. Okay, cool. So we're going to take this challenge and now we're going to use this to work on our solution ideas. So if everyone now goes to board number 5, so we're going up a row. And what we're going to do is, quite simply, we're going to set a 5-minute timer, and see under number 6, you all have a board with your name on it. So what we're going to do, similar to what we did before, is we're going to take this specific challenge and write out as many solution ideas as possible within 5 minutes. The challenge, remember, it's in relation to the challenge. The challenge is, how might we run more high impact group exercises and simulations like the role play we did? So any ideas that you think would really help there. Then what we're going to do, as usual, is vote on them after. Everyone clear on that before we jump in? Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to set a 5-minute timer, and we're going to start in 3, 2, 1, go. Guys, again, I'll be moving your solutions down, so don't worry if they disappear. As many ideas as possible. Don't worry, again, if anything sounds stupid or crazy, many ideas as possible. Make sure also one comment, guys, make sure the text is very clear. Remember, we're going to be voting in silence, so the idea needs to be very self-explanatory with this. Then again, observers, by the way, you're going to have one vote for the solution or group of solutions you think will be best at solving the challenge. It's just one more minute. It's just final one or two ideas if you have. Okay, just final ideas. If you see a group, if you're moving cards, just try and find the right group for them, if there is one. Okay, excellent. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to add numbers to this already because we don't have too many to deal with, luckily. So each group, again, for everyone observing, has a number. If you want to vote, just comment on Zoom within the next 5 minutes. and I will add that vote for you. Excellent. So actually, we're going to start. I'm going to keep adding the numbers in the background, but we're going to start voting. So guys, participants, you're going to have 5 minutes to place your votes, starting now. So again, it may be the case. Don't just vote on so you see a group of cards. That doesn't mean it's a better idea than one that's by itself. Cool, nice. Yeah, that's all done. Excellent. So guys watching, you can add your votes now. I've got all the numbers added already.
Sorry, Henry, how many votes do the observers have?
Just one, just to keep it simple. Yeah, it's slightly unfair.
That's fine.
Ah, shit, right. Copy the vote. Stealing an extra vote. Okay, cool. Start adding your votes. So what do we got? We've got no, it's the old ones. 14.
I just came up with a great idea, but the idea time is over. God damn it.
How good is it's time's over, unfortunately. Of course, chaos.
Really? Let's bring it on. I mean, it's about stimulating, isn't it?
Yeah, no, you can put it on. You can put it on, but don't create bias. Yeah, if you want to, you can put it on the board.
No one will vote for it.
Nobody should vote for it.
No, that is the problem, though, isn't it? Like as Henry just said, if you say, "I've got a great idea," and you announce it, then everyone's going to be like, "Oh, they're waiting for the great idea to come."
Yeah, created bias.
I'll keep it to myself.
So that's a great example, though, of why one of the benefits of this is say you have like a really pushy CEO in a company. We want to avoid the scenario where he goes like, "Oh, I think this idea is amazing," because essentially the signal is like, "You better vote, vote for my idea," kind of thing. And with this workshop, we tend to remove some of that, some of those issues, essentially. A bit more democratic. Okay, card number 9. 12 from Jason. 1 from you.
Tell us your idea while we're waiting.
Number 14.
No.
Yeah, you can share it.
You need to bribe me.
1, 12.
Was that your idea?
I'll write it later on Slack just to keep the tension up.
Timer. Right. So just place your last vote if you haven't already. I'm just going to do the final guys observing.
Are you using your microwave, Henry, to time this?
No, I've got I just randomly found a timer. It's my laptop. Excellent. Okay, so where are we at? Let's. What I'm going to do is just all of you guys don't touch a thing. So let's find the most voted. So we've got a vote of 6 here. Sorry, keep the number. 5, 7. Always tends to happen. Sorry, 7 would be at the top. And 5 and 4. Okay, cool. So what we do at this point, just for you guys observing or wanting to facilitate in future, is as with any dealing with roadmaps or backlog, we are not we're not going to try and look at every idea that comes up. So what we have here is an indication of what we believe to be. Obviously, we never know for sure what we believe to be, what we assume to be the most effective solution broadly for the challenge that we set ourselves. So what we do now is, again, what we have here is a backlog really of ideas. So these are, if we put this in a product context, we have product ideas based around maybe a specific challenge, like how might we increase retention, or whatever it is in the funnel, right? So that's how we use it in a product context. So what we're going to do now, though, is we're going to leave all the ideas that have fewer than 5 votes. So we're just going to take the top 3 votes here, the top 3 ideas here. What I'm going to do is take one of the cards that sort of best represents the idea, and we're going to then put that onto an effort impact matrix. So then say, okay, what do we think is really worth committing time to? So what I'm going to do is just find one card that represents the idea. So just running a group activity. So it's a mix of things. Let's say, what do we think about just participants? What do you think about saying weekly group activities? Yeah, we're happy with that. Weekly group activity, weekly group, e.g. role play, or could do an LDJ as well, these kinds of things. Second idea, what have we got? Use skill matrix to create groups of mixed ability. So how do we describe this? Sort of evaluating students' skill sets. Evaluating and sharing skills to how do we say help each other, I suppose. How we define that?
Just put knowledge sharing. Evaluating the knowledge sharing.
Sorry? Yeah, evaluating knowledge sharing. Excellent. Yeah, breakout room. This is a cool idea.
And I think that would probably need to be saved down where people can access it, so that they can use it to help them out on projects.
Sorry?
The skills matrix. It should potentially be saved somewhere where people can access it quite quickly in order to find out who maybe would be able to help them out on the projects that they're on.
Yeah, also long term.
Or the tasks that they're doing. Yeah.
Important thing. Or so I suppose, are we mentioning here, whose idea was this? Just explain in 30 seconds. The interview.
That was mine. The idea was that when we say that we have a session where we say, okay, let's test our interviews, And then you create a breakout session, which is with pairs, so one-on-one. And then one is the interviewer, one is the interviewee. And then you do your exercise, your interview, at least with one person, maybe then in both roles, so that you are really getting used to it, build up your self-esteem. The other person can help you maybe as well with what is good questions, what is not good questions, so you feel better prepared for the real world.
Yeah, I like that. So we're sort of setting some sort of level, a clear signal. That's a really nice idea. Okay, cool. So if everyone can now move over to, I think it's board number, what is it, number 9? No, number 8. So prioritizing solutions. Great, so what we're gonna do now, and we're gonna wrap up in the next couple of minutes, everyone watching, we're simply gonna place, we're gonna do this almost in silence. What I'm gonna do is pick up one of the solution ideas, place it in the matrix, and just say higher or lower. Firstly, for effort, second for impact. Sorry, to get impact, then effort. So all I want from you guys, from the participants, is say whether you think it would be higher or lower. You can add a short comment after. In this case, it's going to be relatively simple, right? Deliberately so. But if, for example, we're building a complex feature, clearly if we're talking about effort, we're going to want the input from the CTO and say, you know, yeah, this is going to be very high effort or very low effort, depending on how we do it. So depending on the experts we have in the room, this is also what's really important, like who we have in the sprint itself can really obviously change the outcome massively. Yeah, things like topics like that, I'll get Rob to really go deep on tomorrow, actually. Great, so let's then take this first idea. So weekly group activities such as role plays or lightning decision jams. In terms of impact, higher or lower?
Higher.
Yeah.
Higher.
This high?
Higher, yeah.
Top, I would say.
It's pretty high. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit lower.
I would say a bit lower.
Excellent. Effort, higher or lower effort? Think also
Higher.
some preparation.
Higher.
Well, it's only one, say it's one person per week.
I think it's good there.
Yeah, I'd say a little bit, yeah, about here. Because you could see, it could also vary, obviously, like lightning decision jam might be, let's say up here. Role play might be a little bit there. Stretch this out as well. Okay, cool. Next idea, evaluating and knowledge share in an accessible place. Let's think in terms of effort, low effort, high effort.
I think it's low effort.
Yeah. Gathering some data, you can put it in a shared Google Sheet, quite simple. Yeah, we could put that pretty low. Impact, high or low?
Lower.
Do you mean impact in terms of its value, right?
Well, for helping, let's say helping people. What
yeah, I would say that
really help people.
I think that's higher than, I think that's quite high.
Yeah, I thought so as well.
Yeah. Higher.
So the reason why I'm a skeptic here is that, let's say we define one person, then that has this one skill, then everybody's going to ask this person. I'm not sure how much impact this brings to everybody.
Yeah, I also think my experience with these kinds of things, they're not used that often. We'd be happy to put it sort of middle.
Yeah.
Any pushback on that? I'm happy with that. Okay, cool.
I think if there's one person who's, say, a graphic designer or something, and everybody in the whole group, and they end up being swamped with advice and tasks, it becomes a bit unfair in a way almost.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's leave it there for now. Again, we don't have to. It doesn't have to be perfect. Cool. Let's breakout sessions to pass through specific levels. Would we say high impact, low impact?
Higher.
Higher or lower than the weekly group activities?
It's the same level.
Yeah. It's possible to maybe just define that one a bit more. I don't think that reads well to me. Sorry.
Yeah, so I suppose it would be, the way I've understood this, and correct me if I'm wrong, whoever's idea is that you would say, for example, like be evaluated on interview technique at the beginning, offer definition, etc. So some way of evaluation beyond just sort of publishing assessment.
Or maybe just a training, not because both of them might be unexperienced.
Yeah, that's true. So let's say, do we think, like, simple question I suppose, do we think it's going to be less impact, so more higher or lower impact than the weekly group activity?
I think it would be higher impact.
Higher, because there's less people, I would say.
Yeah.
And also it's very then personalized. Yeah. Okay, cool. High effort, low effort.
Low.
Pretty high.
Is
Really?
it? Yeah.
Depends who it's for. I mean, from our side, it's time. I think from your, it depends really. I think it wouldn't be much more. You know, we could do this with basically reframe assessment in this way. So it's sort of.
Yeah, if it just if just peers do it, then you don't have any work to do, Henry. It's just time then for both parties.
Yeah, although so the way I understood the card was that each person would be assigned a certain level, and then two people would be sort of matched up, which in your case, Henry and Felix, would be quite a lot of work.
Yeah, that's fine from our side. I think it's more from your guys' side.
I thought
much more. I mean, it's basically formalizing the one-on-ones. So I would put it somewhere down here. It's not a huge time drain. Yeah, okay. You know, again, it doesn't need to be perfect. With sort of ballpark figure somewhere in the middle. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do now, just to wrap up, is ultimately what we want to be doing is taking ideas that are in the sort of low effort, high impact area. So what we can do in this case is we have two that are pretty close. I think in this specific case, let's take both of these and see what specific actions we can take. Sorry, I've locked this card. Yeah, okay, cool. So we can define specific actions to take here. Sorry, no, you know what, just in the interest of time, let's just take one of these ideas to wrap up. Okay, cool. So let's say the solution that we think we could start testing out to help us feel sort of more like engaged, I suppose, with each other is breakout sessions to pass through specific levels. Sorry, what action could we take either on my side or on your side, let's say, to put this into action? I suppose from my side, see, for example, like what do we think makes sense? And next step would be if validates, i.e. if we come to if agreed upon, first, a sort of assessment, let's say. Does that make sense? Are we happy with this? Okay, cool. Great. So we can wrap up there. So ultimately what we have done today is move from, again, we've kept it very simple. So this is not the perfect scenario. Ideally, we use this sort of more within our product team itself. We can move from, okay, how might we sort of improve the ProdMBA experience, test it out, mirror over here. We then work through all of the different things like pushing the ship forward, holding the ship back. We have this nice reference in future to share with stakeholders, for example, if you're using this in your company, of prioritized challenges, problems that we can decide to solve in future. So imagine that on like a strategic level, if as a company you have like C-levels in the room, you can very quickly align around specific challenges and where they are in our sort of list of priorities, let's say. So what we then did is move to solutions here. voted on those, looked at the sort of highest impact ones we could think of, and we then put them on an effort impacts matrix. And what we now have is a solution that we're taking specific action on within the next week to ultimately, again, try and improve the experience. So again, specifically though, let's take our challenge over here. This means, right, how can we sort of get people more involved, run sort of group exercises and simulations? So is this sort of taking what we did with COSAWAP, for example, on Tuesday and sort of making that into slightly more formal assessment, that kind of thing. So as I said, next step, what I'm going to do is go away, come up with maybe some ideas. I'll also put just a poll on Slack. So any ideas that you guys have, I'm even going to put this as an action state. For example, what do you guys feel you would like to be assessed on? Interview technique is a good example. So what I'll do, put a poll on, and then we can start actually moving and putting those into action as a follow-up step on this, right? As the iteration on these action points. Awesome. So that was really, really helpful. Helpful from my side. I hope it was useful to sort of see this in action. As I said, this is a sort of simplified retrospective version of the LDJ. If you really want to dig into using this within your company, then Rob and I he's done this for 10 years. I've done five or six of these within companies as well now. And so he's going to be the guy to talk to in that Q&A tomorrow, like any questions on when to use it, how to use it. If you have any ideas as well, he will be more than happy to help. I'm sure he will also point you to like specific templates and workshop formats that would be useful in your sort of day-to-day roles. So awesome, I hope that was helpful. And as I said, I think any more questions, just post on Slack or join the call tomorrow. And yeah, that was it. Thanks as well. A quick clap to the participants for taking the time with that. Coming up with some nice ideas as well.
Thanks guys, that was super useful and just like really, really great engagement.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that guys, and have a good evening. Hope you enjoy.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.